Alright guys, this is In the Hot Seat. Of course, this was taped right before TLC, so with some of the topics that I had in mind, things really just changed right after that since TLC is over. But for the rest of the stuff, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And this is an audio commentary style with my brand new guest. And with that being said, roll the intro and enjoy.
It is the most interactive professional wrestling discussion show on the internet. WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling. This is In the Hot Seat with your host, Fortminorproject.
Alright, what's going on guys, and welcome to this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. Of course, as always, I got a great show lined up for you guys, and as well a brand new guest joining me at this time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up everybody, it's the Razman, aka Razman's Reality here on YouTube, of the Razman's Reality Show on YouTube, and also on Internet Radio.
Alright, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, man, big fan of your stuff.
Oh, thanks. Alright, but the first thing I'm going to get to right away, and what are your thoughts on Kane, since we saw Kane's epic return, and what do you think is going to happen next with Kane?
I really love Kane's return. I think that him losing the mask was a huge mistake in the first place. I do agree with what Simon said somewhat on the last Ustream show for TLC, when he said that the unveiling of his face for the first time was pretty epic, because it was. But I think that when they took the mask off of him, it kind of lost his mystique for his character, and he just became too human. And the thing that made Kane so intimidating was that you just didn't know what he was going to do. I mean, there was nothing that Kane wouldn't do. So I just love the fact that he's remasked now, and I like the way he did his little smirk at the end of his choke slam on Cena, and I like his theme music because it's making it sound like it's going to be a cross between his last good evil unmasked character and his masked character, which should be phenomenal. I mean, you get all elements of Kane wrapped up in one. The only thing that is interesting about it is he should be finishing what he started with Mark Henry, but he's clearly a heel right now, Kane. So I would like to see him go after the world title and make the world title match between Daniel Bryan, Mark Henry, and Kane be a three-way match. But whether or not that actually happens is yet to remain to be seen. But I'm one that's of the belief that Kane is actually not going to have a prolonged feud right now. I think he's just going to go in and pick apart everybody until he gets to whoever he's actually targeting. Because if you remember the promos for Kane Resurrected, how he had all kinds of different faces in the mirror of different superstars. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's very good, and to me, I was definitely marking out when Kane came back, and that was really cool to have him back, definitely for sure. And basically what we got there is a mixture between all his past costumes and everything like that, and his gimmicks. So I think that's really cool, and to me, I think he really is going to probably go after Mark Henry on this one, and in the way, I guess, but as of right now, in the way, still a tweener, so things will plan out, I'm sure, definitely when the next Raws and the weeks to come, so I will be definitely tuning in to see what's going to happen. And as far as talking goes, he'll probably talk every once in a while. I don't think he's probably going to talk every week and everything like that, so we'll probably get to see him talk like he had his last gimmick in 2010 when he had the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, for me, you did remind me of that. I did kind of forget to mention that aspect of it. For me, he shouldn't talk at all, because Kane's masked character was way more intimidating when he didn't know what he was thinking and he had a mouthpiece. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring back Paul Bearer. I don't know if Paul Bearer at this age, sorry if you just heard background noise, I accidentally hit my shelf there on the side of me, but I don't know if they're going to be able to bring Paul Bearer back at this point, because I don't know if Paul Bearer is going to want to come back full time, but I definitely think he should have a mouthpiece, because I think the character works a lot better that way.
Right. Actually having Paul Bearer back, I think that would be tremendous, even if it's part-time for a little while, and to help out Kane and everything, I think that would be pretty cool, so, at least for one more run anyway, helping out King, so, we'll have to wait and see what's gonna happen with that. I'm really looking forward for that, and I think Kane is just really gonna come back and really dominate, and he's definitely one of my picks to win the Royal Rumble this year, so I am looking forward for that. Also, going into the next topic, and going into WrestleMania, and in the way Kane's brother, if you will, and who do you think should end the Undertaker streak? Do you think it should be Triple H or someone else, or not at all?
I don't think the streak should end at all, because whether or not it was an intentional thing at first or not, the streak has become such a mystique for Taker, and it's part of his character, especially now more than ever, because of this stage of his career where he can't wrestle but maybe one match a year. It just adds to his mystique, and I think for him to go out at 20-0 would be the most appropriate ending ever. If this truly is his last WrestleMania, I think he should go out 20-0. I did want to see Shawn Michaels end the streak. I thought if there was ever anybody that deserved to end the streak, it was Shawn Michaels, but when Shawn Michaels didn't do it, now I don't think it should go to anybody. Triple H, being Triple H or not, I just don't think it should go to anybody. I think he should remain undefeated.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one, and, you know, The Undertaker has been winning at WrestleMania, so I think it would be only right to have him win his last WrestleMania. Now, I don't know how I would really feel about Triple H ending the streak, since he's been claiming that he technically did already at last year's WrestleMania, so, and I don't really know if I want to see Triple H and Undertaker. I'm sure it'd be a great match for the third time, but I think someone new should face The Undertaker, maybe like a Wade Barrett or something like that.
Yeah, the only problem with that is I, as much as I love Wade Barrett and as much as I think he is the future of WWE, I don't think right now, because it took them so long to build Barrett up, that he is the kind of guy that people are going to take as a believable opponent for Taker. I just don't see it. I think Taker has to face a marquee guy, and the only problem with that is the only real guy that he hasn't ever faced at Mania is John Cena, and they got The Rock to come back to face Cena, which kind of means that he can't face Taker this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. It would be absolutely phenomenal if Brock Lesnar would come back and face Taker at Mania, but whether or not he does is yet to remain to be seen.
Yeah, that would actually be a great match to see, and definitely a dream match between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, but it's really up in the air at this point who exactly is going to take out Undertaker, so if it is Triple H, we'll have to wait and see what that's
But the thing is, I mean, whether or not WWE wants us to remember it or not, this would be the fourth time, if they do it again, that those two have faced a Mania.
Yeah.
And it's just overkill. It doesn't need to happen.
Alright, moving along into the next topic here, and that is going with Mark Henry, and we've been seeing Mark Henry go on a roll as of late, and inducting people into his Hall of Fame, and actually doing really tremendous as a heel, so I have been liking his World Heavyweight Championship reign. So who do you think should end his reign, and will he actually continue his reign as World Champion going into WrestleMania?
Well, for anyone that hasn't heard my Wrestling Roundtables before, like I said, I do the Razman's reality radio show on Internet Radio Weekly as well, and for every WWE pay-per-view, I get together with a bunch of YouTubers and we do pay-per-view roundtables and talk about things that are going on in wrestling. And I was never a big fan of Mark Henry. I thought Mark Henry was a waste of space, but what they've done with this heel character I really love, and I think he is extremely over and extremely believable now, and I don't think it's time for him to lose. I think the only guy that should be the next World Heavyweight Champion is Daniel Bryan, simply because A, Daniel Bryan's a phenomenal worker and he deserves to be in the main event scene, but B, you had him win the SmackDown Money in the Bank last year, so you're really going to have Daniel Bryan be the first guy who doesn't become a world champion at Money in the Bank, or by winning Money in the Bank, sorry. I just think that that would be a slap in his face. Now, it would be interesting if they threw Kane in there, and having Kane win, I wouldn't mind that either, but I just think Daniel Bryan just deserves that spot against Mark Henry. I think he deserves a one-on-one match and deserves to be the next world champion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. a while ago, I would never thought that Mark Henry would have this dominant reign and everything. So him as a face didn't really go so well, but him as a heel is really going really well. So I have been enjoying that. And to me, definitely, I think he's gonna hold the World Heavyweight Championship probably into WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see what the plans are for Mark Henry. So I think it would be interesting to see maybe have Kane win the Royal Rumble and then have him face Mark Henry. So since they still have unfinished business. So I think that would probably happen, and then maybe we'll get to see that cash in by Daniel Bryan or something like that. So, or maybe a triple threat match too. So
yeah, I mean that's the other thing nobody's talked about. I mean there is the possibility. There's this rumor going around that a SmackDown personality's going to win the Royal Rumble. What if they are fully ready to put stock in Wade Barrett? Having Wade Barrett versus Daniel Bryan for the world title would be a phenomenal match. And a match that would actually play on those two guys' history with each other that they have from starting with NXT and the Nexus. So if you have Daniel Bryan cash in early, win the world title, then Wade Barrett gets the WrestleMania challenger's position. That would be an interesting scenario and one I wouldn't mind seeing. And it would actually make sense because, as Daniel Bryan said, plans kind of changed with him and Mark Henry because of Mark Henry's attitude toward him. So he doesn't necessarily, because of the hatred that he has for Mark Henry in particular, he doesn't necessarily have to wait till WrestleMania now in order for him to be credible as cashing in Money in the Bank. As long as he has a phenomenal one-on-one match for the world title at WrestleMania, it doesn't matter if he's champion or challenger. So that is one scenario for him cashing in that I actually wouldn't mind seeing.
Alright, so as we move along into the final topic that I have here, and that is going into final thoughts on the January 2nd It Begins promo, and I've been hearing just about everything on who people might think it is. I've been hearing it could be Shane McMahon, it can be from anyone to Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, people like that. Who do you think it's going to actually be? Do you think it's going to be someone different and throw us all off? And what are your thoughts on that?
Me? It's been obvious right from the very first promo. It's Y2J himself, Chris Jericho. I mean, you think about it. Jericho's MO has been codes his entire time in WWE, and you break it down, year 2012, 2nd of January, so it's Y2J. And then you also look at all the other elements. Every promo has said it'll be the end of the world as you know it. CM Punk has been running around for ever since this whole change in WWE began with him saying I am the best in the world, and Chris Jericho always said I'm the best in the world at what I do. So I think he's coming back to reclaim that. And the two other big clues to being Chris Jericho were in the last one. It was called Look Within. And there is a Fuzzy song called Wormwood. And that Fuzzy song called Wormwood had the exact same beginning sound with those bells and the whispering underneath that's been in all of the It Begins promos. And it also has a lyric in it that says Look Within. And the other clue was in the very first promo when the old boy said the line, Come my people and shut thy doors about thee, for power shall come to punish the weak for their iniquity. That is a line that is right out of the Holy Bible in the Battle of Jericho. So there could not be more clues to it being Chris Jericho. The only element in it that has been a little confusing, especially since last week, my bad, I said Look Within was the last promo, it was 2 promos ago, but last week's promo when he talked about she is the key to my arrival, that did throw me off a little bit, but I actually think that she is not going to be a physical person. I think she is referencing the World Championship, or excuse me, not the World Championship, the WWE Championship, and I think he is referring to the right time to strike to go after CM Punk, the WWE Champion, which will be January 2nd. The only other possibility that I could see, well, 2 really. One is that the girl is Stephanie McMahon, and I say that because Stephanie McMahon and Chris Jericho had a history with each other, and the last time we saw Stephanie on camera, she was kind of making fun of Punk and kind of being, for lack of a better word negative toward Punk, like Punk was making fun of her and the way she does things. So I could see her being in Jericho's corner and sort of playing off that history that they have together of sort of being past antagonists, and then they were business arrangements and business partners there for a while. They had a business arrangement, so I could see them playing off that history a little bit, but it's just too much of a stretch, I think, for most people. So I'm gonna go back to the girl being no one, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar to 22111 last year, where it is more than one person, and maybe we get Jericho and the Undertaker as well. I mean, that could happen, but I think if it was Undertaker, I think it would just be a repeat of 22111, which they don't need. And as far as it being Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, like I said, I could see Stephanie somewhat being the girl in the promos, but Shane, I just don't see him coming back to WWE. I just don't see it. I mean, he left voluntarily. He wasn't forced out. He didn't like the way things were happening there. And I don't imagine, even though Triple H has a little bit more control now than he used to, I don't imagine it being the kind of creative situation in real life where he would feel comfortable enough returning to the company. So yeah, to me, it's Chris Jericho at this point.
Alright, and you bring out a lot of good points on this one, so I'm really going to tune in and see what's going to happen. Hopefully it'll be real worth it in the end, and I'm going to have to wait and see what's going to happen on January 2nd. So, to me, as of right now, it could be either The Undertaker or Chris Jericho. I think it would be really cool. Now that we have Mass Kane back, we could also have probably the American Badass Undertaker, which would be really tremendous too. And also then again, have Chris Jericho going back to him and probably wanting to win the Royal Rumble and go after the World Championship. So anything can really happen at this point, or it can be someone entirely different and someone new and actually making their debut. So in a way, that's also up in the air. So the last promo that they had with the Control kind of really threw me off on that one. So I was kind of confused on what's gonna happen with that. So I'm definitely gonna be tuning in, definitely for sure, on January 2nd. And that's basically it when it comes to all the topics. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we end the show?
I just want to say thanks for having me, and I would be happy to come back anytime. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Hot Seat. I think you have one of the best shows here on YouTube. As far as my wrestling show or wrestling videos, I also do film on my channel, so I don't do wrestling, like that's not my only thing I do, but I do have a weekly wrestling show called Wrestling the Way It Ought to Be, and that airs either Thursday or Friday every week. So everyone tune in. I'm sure David will have all of my links, as well as links to my iTunes feed and my archive feed for my radio show. So if anyone wants to tune in to my stuff that hasn't heard me, please feel free to do so, and thanks for letting me hang out, man. It's a lot of fun.
No problem. I appreciate the kind words, and definitely I will leave a link to all your channel links down below in the comment box, in the description box, I should say, and so you guys can check that out. And with the comment box, definitely a comment on what we talked about. Feel free to leave a video response. And that about does it for this week on In the Hot Seat. And of course, as always, I will talk to you guys later on.